Greetings, fellow Carbonauts! Nerdy Spaceman here, in for another installment of A Beginner's Guide to Kerbal Space Program. And in this episode, we're going to do a Minmus Flyby. So we're going to fly by Minmus, and we're going to use the same rocket as we used in the previous video to fly by the moon. We built a pretty good rocket, actually, so we had a whole bunch of extra fuel left over, so we'll easily be able to get to Minmus and back again. Since we're not landing or anything, so we don't need the extra fuel, you had plenty of fuel in this rocket. So, same as before, SAS, max throttle, launch. Again, in the same flight, I'm going to go ahead and wait till 100 meters per second and turn the craft. Not every rocket is going to be like that, but ideally, you want to be going at least a little bit up to get some speed in your craft, to get some speed over those wings, because they're more stable when they have, when you're moving at a higher speed. So here it is, I'm starting my gravity turn. And I'm edging it. Usually what I do is I point toward the edge of the retrograde marker. It gives a nice control tilt. And I'm waiting to get to between 70 and 75 in the retrograde. And then I'm adjusting my craft, pulling it down so I can get that marker. And 91, that's fine. Now the reason I pull it, I don't really care about it being perfectly equatorial, is because Minmus isn't actually on the equator, it's off. And we're going to adjust for that when we get in space, but it's nice to go as close to the 90 mark as possible. You can make this craft move more towards the 90 mark if you balance it better, so if you add a better, symmetry. Right now it's probably asymmetric in some tiny minute way. That's alright. In previous flights, as you can tell here, we're actually getting re-entry effects, and that's alright because the time in which we start really getting the big ones is when we're already in the upper atmosphere. So that isn't essentially, it's not too damaging to the craft. You actually won't get a lot of heating issues. We'll get some heating at the very end, but at that point we'll already be out of fuel. So this, don't worry about this, you're not actually suffering a lot of damage. The atmosphere is so thin, it's not that big a deal. And there we go, out of fuel here, cut off the engine, and there it is, 84,000 meters, it's not bad. I'm going to go ahead and end my maneuver here. Okay. Keep going, oh. Alright, keep going until they flip. And there it is, they flipped on me. There we go. Okay, so I've got my maneuver node. I've got 1 minute and 16 second burn, so that's T minus 38 seconds. And I just have to wait to get there. I'm already a minute out. What I like to do personally is I like to wait until I am out of the atmosphere, so at 70,000 meters, before I turn towards the maneuver node. That's just an old habit, because these fins, they actually do provide lift. And if you point yourself in a direction other than which you're traveling, you're actually going to be turning your craft. So if I preemptively point it down towards the ground, I'm going to lose altitude. But once I hit space, I can turn my craft whichever way I want to. It doesn't really matter because there's no air to guide me. So I'll point at maneuver node, time warp, and it's 38. Max out my thrust, and I'm off. That's the beauty of this rocket, is I have a full rocket when I get rid of those two when I get to space, which is amazing. It's a great way to start. Once you're in the borders of space, you're just having a full rocket full of fuel. And that's the beauty of having the onion staging. It's the namesake of the Onyx is the onion staging. It makes for great rockets. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and preemptively select Minmus as my target. And I'll tell you why in a second. It's got to do with these nodes here, the ascending and descending nodes. They talk about eccentricity, so how much off of the equator this orbit is. So this has actually got to do with the equator, or when they intercept each other. You'll see the line goes from one point of the orbit all the way out to the other point. So there's 2 points at which these intersect. Now the reason I'm selecting it so early is because as I'm getting into space, I'm getting really close here, these are going to want to flip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill it ahead of time and get rid of my node. So I'm in orbit now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to point this at the horizon, nudge it right there so it's at the horizon, and then I'm going to add a little bit of thrust until they're on top of each other. There it is. Now the reason I'm doing this is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a maneuver node here, and I'm going to fix the eccentricity of this orbit. But whenever you add speed in any direction on this side, you're going to be messing around with the opposite end of the orbit. So because the apoapsis is up here, and I'm adding speed to it, I'm actually going to be adding to the periapsis. So what happens is the DN is descending node, right? So if I lay flat here, you can see I'm descending, and at this point I'm below the orbit of Minmus. On the other side, I'm going to start moving, I'm going to be above the orbit of Minmus, and I want to fix that, I want to correct for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the one that's up for the descending, or I could do the one that's down for the ascending. And you'll see how they get closer to each other, right? You see that? While I'm doing that, you'll also notice that the apoapsis and the periapsis flip as well. And then shortly thereafter, the nodes flip. So now I know that the nodes are next to each other, but my apoapsis and periapsis aren't anymore. I can actually slow down, and they will flip too. You see that? There it is. So I'm fixing these, and then fixing these. And there we go. I can do that again here. Oh, come on. Come on. It's very delicate. Alright, there we go. That's close enough. So now I've essentially circularized and I've fixed eccentricity at the same time. And again, it's only a 7-second burn. It's actually not a lot, but it does both at the same time. It's a little trick I learned from turning the craft around. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and warp to my next maneuver. I pointed at my node preemptively, so that's good. And since it's only a 7-second burn, I'm going to manually time warp until I am T-minus, 3 seconds away from the one I need to burn, so I'm going to get there. Okay, T-minus 5, 4, alright, there it is. And this is going to go down very quickly. It's going to be just fine. And kill this, and then inch my way slowly to the target. Oh, there it is. Hit it, and there it is. These are jiggling about. These are all jiggling. It means that I'm doing a very stable. If they're all jiggling like this, it means that they're extremely close to each other. They're wanting to flip. So that's very good. So I've got a perfectly circular orbit, and I've got 0 eccentricity. You can tell these aren't even lined up anymore. This is very good. That's very good. So now, as I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and time warp and stop time warping. It stabilizes a little bit, but you'll still see there's a little bit of jitter. That's okay. I'm going to add a maneuver. I'm going to burn prograde. And there we go. Let's keep going until I intercept the orbit. And then grab it and adjust it so that we have an encounter. There it is. And it's just a tiny bit. Tiny bit. That's all that counts. Oh, wow. Look at that. There you go. That's going to send me flying. And I've lost my periapsis. So I guess that's direct. I'm going to hit the... Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to keep going until I get a... There it is. This is all of them. I get all 3. Apoapsis, periapsis, everything's up there. Okay, let's do something like that. Point my rocket. And again, you can do these changes after you've started your node. That's like we did in the previous video. You'll do these changes after you've started your flight. So here we are. Now, again, I'm not going to have enough fuel in my backstage. This big stage here, I'm not going to have enough fuel left over. It's almost empty completely. You can tell here, I don't have a lot of fuel left. Out of these 3 tanks, only one of them's got half of the fuel left. So I'm going to start early, because I know this is going to jettison. I'm going to be left with a little weak fuel-efficient engine. So, I don't know, I'm guessing here. T-minus 30, there you go. I'm starting it here, because this is going to run out of fuel real quick. And I'm not going to be able to have enough fuel to complete this. So I'm going to go ahead and start early on this. So I'm not going to split the difference because I'm going to be mid-stage between 2 stages, so it's not safe to start exactly splitting the difference. Especially when you know the engine in front of it is going to be weaker than the one that you're using. There we go. We got about halfway through. We still got plenty of burn time, so I should be okay. I should be just fine. So here we are, increasing our speed. Now you'll notice that for the majority of the burn, it only got us this much. But the little dredges, look how much difference they're gonna make. Look at that, 100 meters. Look how far up 100 meters can go. Look at that, 50. Look how quickly. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill this early, real quick. There it is. Kill it. So I'm 1.2 meters away. So I'm real close. I'm gonna inch my way up there. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. And I already overshot it. It's not the end of the world. I'm gonna go ahead and point retrograde. I'm gonna select my engine and reduce the thrust on that to like some tiny amount. There we go. And I'm going to burn retrograde and watch my periapsis as it gets close. Again, I'm aiming for, there it is, somewhere between 10 and 15,000 meters. And I'm going to go ahead and time warp, and let's get over there. You gotta be careful with the time warp. Never go to the last level. Because the last level, even if it looks like you're slowing down, the last level is for interplanetary travel, and it moves through time very quickly. Like, it's already been 4 days, which is like a tremendous amount of time. Look at that, 5, 6 days. It goes by very quickly. Anyways, here we are. We've encountered the moon, or Minmus, I should say. And we're doing 13,000 meters, which is perfect. Let's collect some science. There's Minmus in the distance. So, let's collect that science. Report. Thermometer. Materials bay. And keep everything. Do an EVA report. Keep that. Take the crew report. Take the mystery goo and store it. Take the thermometer. And restore the science junior, take everything. Okay, board. Now we should have 4 experiments. What are we missing? Let's find out. EVA, crew report, mystery goo. We need temperature scan. So EVA, mystery goo, temperature scan. Hold on a second. We have the crew report? EVA, crew report, mystery goo, and temperature scan. Do we not have the science? ETA, crew report, mystery goo, temperature scan. Yeah, we don't have the science. Okay. Observe that. Keep it. Okay, let's do that again. Collect that data, please, before restoring it. And there we go. There's the 5 experiments. Okay, that was weird. Fluke. Anyways, let's time warp and get closer. So, here we are. Again, very careful with the time warp. Now, Minmus is very interesting because it's on the outskirts of the orbit, and it's also tiny. It's like physically small, as well as having a tiny gravitational pull. So, this makes landing on Minmus extremely easy. But it also makes getting to Minmus extremely hard because you can easily miss it. It's like so minuscule. It's very easy to miss. So, we'll land on it in the future and you'll see how light it is, but it is a much harder target to hit because of its size and its low gravity. So here we are, we've hit the lowest point, we're now flying away from Minmus, and let's take some science from this. Keep science, do a crew report, mystery goo, and then an EVA. Over the slopes, it looks like. Okay, it's fine. Let's see here. So, take that, collect that, store it. Okay, board. We should have 10 experiments. 10 experiments. Excellent. And that was Minmus. Quick and easy. Now let's get out of here. So, here we are, time warping, saying goodbye to Minmus. As it changed our orbit into this thing. Not that bad. So now, interestingly enough, we're all the way falling down, so we're not getting the added bonus of fuel efficiency from burning at the apoapsis. That's still going to be fine, so long as we point retrograde. Switch off our time warp so we can actually turn ourselves around. Okay. And then at thrust. Okay, see, I'm maxing it out, but it's just putzing along. You can barely see any flame here. That's because I haven't. There it is. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, God, goodness. Okay, so I went too far with that. Turn around, burn prograde again. Let's actually increase our altitude a little bit. There it is. And 15,000. There it is. Okay, cool. And then we're going to time warp our way back down. Personally, I like to time warp. Let's see here, warp here. It'll automatically warp us out there. can tell it's not going to be max, but you know, it's not bad either. And you'll see as our speed starts to increase as we fall closer and closer to the planet. And eventually it's going to get to a really high speed, and that's not going to be fun for anyone, so we're going to slow down manually. And again, I'm going to point retrograde, and we're going to get our altitude to what I remember it was to be 200,000. So here we go. 500, 400. Here we go, and I'm now spaced near Kerbin. And 200,000. Okay, pointing retrograde, and burn. Turn on stability assist and point somewhere between the sky and the retrograde so I can balance this, and you'll see how I'm fixing my orbit, and I'm keeping my periapsis still well within the atmosphere, and I'm slowing myself down. Here's my speed, so it's going down. My orbit speed is going down. Again, the slower I'm going, the safer I'll be during reentry. Got still half a fuel tank left, so I got plenty of fuel to burn. And again, I'm adjusting between retrograde and the sky directly above. And you'll see as it's to constantly tilt myself, so I'm keeping it above 15,000. It'll get to a point where it stops going up and it turns around and starts going down. So I gotta keep adding that radial energy until I run out of energy. Here it is. 15, higher. Okay, there we go. You aim until you get to the apoapsis, but it looks like I'm out of fuel. And there's the last of it, nudging along. I'm actually going up, funnily enough. I'm actually gaining altitude at this point. So that's about as much energy as I can take out of this orbit before I start coming back down. But there it is. I've essentially converted my altitude to the apoapsis. So the periapsis, I brought the apoapsis all the way from out here down to on top of myself. And that's how you do it. You start burning that way. And you saw this from the previous video, but that's going to be alright. I'm going to show you again so you can have it cemented. I'm going to jettison this last stage. Stability assist. And time warp into the atmosphere. We're not going to be going too fast. And we're looping around, and unfortunately we're going to do another night landing, which is not fun. But at least when we land and we launch again, we'll be in the daytime, so it shouldn't be too bad at all. In retrograde, and then stability assist, and then I'm going to manually time warp again until I start getting re-entry effects. I wish you could see me. I mean, you might be able to, but it's very dark. I want to see here. It depends. I don't know. I have no idea where I'm going to land, because I can't see. It's too dark. But, oh well. So, time warp's at max, and I'm waiting for re-entry. There it is. There's the re-entry. So, switch off time warp, point myself retrograde, and now comes the long and painful journey of going back into orbit. A little drink of water. So anyways, as we're going down into the atmosphere, we are heating up, and we're actually now officially losing speed. It's not much, but we're losing it. So our the pressure generated by the air is counteracting the gravitational pull as we're entering the atmosphere. So even though we're falling, we're not gaining any more speed, we're actually slowing down from all the compression. Pointing retrograde so that heat shield can take all of the energy, all of the heat away from our craft, because we've got very important scientific experiments on here and we're not trying to lose any of that. Oh, here we go. We're re-entering. Speed is starting to slow down at an accelerated rate, and eventually it's going to slow down a lot. We're still in the upper atmosphere, so re-entry heat isn't too bad, but it's going to get a lot harder on us as we get closer. The blader's slowly boiling away, but if we hit with these kinds of speeds, if we hit the atmosphere proper, it's going to slow us down a lot. I don't know if you can tell, we're flying over some mountains now. we are. Coming in hot. Everything seems to be holding up alright. We're under 2,000 meters per second, so that's good. We still haven't hit the atmosphere, but we're coming in at a nice shallow angle. See that? We're not going in very steep. We did all that extra fuel burning in the beginning to control for that. So the more shallow the angle is, the longer your re-entry is, but the less dangerous it's going to be on your craft. The safer it'll be, because if you're going in really steep, the change in pressure is going to be so fast that your craft won't be able to stand the heat, and you will probably hit the ground at a ridiculous speed. It'll tear your parachutes to shreds. So you don't want that to happen either. But by the looks of it, we're going to land somewhere on land. Now, I have no idea if we have signs from wherever it is that we're going to land on, but I'm hoping we don't, so we can connect some little bit of extra signs on the way down. So here we are. We're about to fall under 1,000 meters per second, which is great. We're in the atmosphere now, so we're slowing down a lot. And here we are, Mach 3. And we're slowly exiting out of the re-entry effects and going into hypersonic. Here it is, Mach 2, and now we're entering the supersonic area below Mach 2, between Mach 1 and Mach 2. And here it is, coming in fast, and here's the 300 meters per second, and we're now below the speed of sound. So now we're just falling like any regular object would be falling in the sky. And here it is. Parachutes are safe to deploy. The ground looks like it's catching up on us pretty quick. I'm going to wait for a little bit, because the more I wait, the closer I'll be to the ground. Okay, I think that's a safe enough time to deploy these chutes. There we go. Deploy these chutes, switch off my SAS. This is going to slow me down even more. And let's see where we are. It's log temperature over the grasslands. Cool, we've not been to the grasslands, it looks like. Mystery Goo. Oh wait, never mind. Mystery Goo is just flying. That's right. Crew report. Grasslands. Hooray! We haven't collected signs from the grasslands. That's great news. Alright, here we are, waiting for my parachutes to deploy. So now I am finally falling at the speed I need to, and I can EVA to do my EVA report. Flying over the grasslands. Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and take all this data, take the thermometer data and board. I have reset all my experiments, and I'm going to time warp my way down. I can barely tell where the ground is. The good thing about landing during the day is you can see your shadow. When you see your shadow, you can then know to slow down because the ground is coming close. But for now, all I can see is just one color, and it's hard to tell how much above the surface we are. You can tell by this number here, the meter count here, but that's above sea level. We're obviously not above the sea, so sea level wouldn't be the zero. It'd be some number above sea level. Like maybe it could be 100, could be 1,000 meters above sea level. We don't know, so we're just playing it by ear. And I think that's the texture for the ground. Yeah, that's the texture. It's coming up pretty quick. I'm gonna go ahead and switch off time warp. Or speed it up. Come on. There it is. I can actually see it now. Yeah. I don't know if you can, but it's getting close. Okay, so switch off time warp when you get real close. And then touchdown. Hooray! Collect the last bit of science. Keep that data. Science Junior. Keep that data. Excellent. Now we're going to do an EVA report. And we already collected all that science here, so I'm going to go ahead and walk my way down and fall on into the ground. Okay, stand up now. There we go. And take a surface sample and an EVA report. And let's recover ourselves. And again, this is just Bob that we're recovering. We're not recovering anyone else. This is just Bob. And then I'm going to go back to my crew report, or to my tracking station. Find myself, and that's where we landed. Back into the planet. In the grass. And recover that vessel. And there's the rest of the science. Look at that. 727 science. That is a ridiculous amount of science. Excellent. So, I think in the next episode, we're going to go ahead and use all of that ridiculous amounts of science to build ourselves a landing craft that's going to be able to land and come back. So that's what I think we should do. But that'll be in the next episode. This has been Nerdy Spaceman. Stay safe and fly far.